I was called into work at an organization where the board of directors brought me in because the leader was hitting all the targets. She was, the budget was in the black. She was doing a fabulous job and had been for years, but she was wreaking havoc with her staff based on how she showed up emotionally. And I went in for a couple of days of observation, and I noticed that people would ask each other, what's the weather? Hey, what's the weather today? And somebody would answer, oh, it looks like there might be a storm. Oh, it's a bright sunny day. And finally I said, what is all this weather talk? And they said, oh, that's our code. If somebody needs to go in and talk to her, they first ask, what's the weather? So that they can get a read on what kind of mood she's in before they go in there. And that's part of what we do as leaders, that we don't even realize the impact we're having on our team when they have to spend that time. So that's what really got me interested in understanding how to help leaders manage their own emotions, be aware of their own emotions, and understand how that impacts communication.
Yeah, I mean, the fact they felt the need to come up with a code so that no one realised what they're talking about, that's a red flag all by itself, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm like, okay, I know my job now. Trust is built one conversation at a time and one experience at a time. We have this myth that you either trust somebody or you don't trust someone. Trust is either present or it's not present. It's much different than that. Trust is on a spectrum. I trust you right now, you and I, if we were in the same room. I would trust you if I had to step out for a minute to leave my phone and my purse and everything in the room. I would totally trust you. In this moment, however, I would not trust you to pick up my grandchild at daycare, or to mail in my vote, or to take my ATM to the bank machine and take money out. I don't know you that well. I might over time as we have conversations and experiences, right? But we operate in this paradigm that we either need to fully trust or not trust at all. And when it comes to employees, the difficulty there, and it took me a long time to learn this and figure this out, the difficulty is that once somebody makes a mistake or they mess up or they let us down, we go right back to zero trust. And what I've learned is it's possible to go back to the last place where you had trust and then begin having conversations and experience to build trust back up again. We don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, the classic example that I've seen a few times is when it comes time for pay review and suddenly the boss is less available or on holiday or out of the office.
Yes.
Yeah, that one gets quite nasty.
If I had my way, I would get rid of annual performance evaluations, and people would be having feedback conversations and coaching conversations all the time. And then at whatever interval you determine is reasonable, the review is only about what are your goals for next year, and what is the raise or the bonus, right? And if you're doing it that way, there's no surprise, right? It's like, waiting and waiting and waiting for your birthday or Christmas or something. And there's either a big surprise or a big letdown. So in my mind, nobody should ever be surprised when it's time for an annual performance review, because those conversations should have been happening the whole way through.
Absolutely agree with you there. Yeah. And I always prefer to kind of separate the two conversations as far as possible.
Here's the reality. When people stop communicating is when you're in trouble. There's the adage that I've heard a few times. When your most verbal person stops talking, you've got a big problem, right? So we need to be able to have these conversations to be able to have healthy conflict. Conflict is where new ideas get created. They come out of that friction of conflict, where new solutions get developed, all of those types of things. You and I were talking at the beginning, I think before we were on air, about, global warming, right? If we can't come together and talk about these really difficult topics, even with people we don't agree with, we're in for a world of hurt and trouble. And so everybody needs to learn this. I work in companies because that's where humans are for the majority of their time. So that's where I get access.